5 years ago, a heartbreaking story began in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado. There, two very close friends, Emily, who was brave and adventurous, and Sarah, who was gentle but full of spirit, shared a dream of reaching a mountain peak, where they believed they could see the most breathtaking view. Before embarking on their journey, they prepared meticulously with a map, survival gear, and enough food and water for a week. They promised each other that they would reach the summit to capture the most beautiful sunset. When they started their ascent, Emily and Sarah were filled with immense joy. They hiked through the dense forest, breathing in the fresh air, listening to the sound of flowing streams, and posting pictures and videos on social media during every break. Their last photo was near a cliff, where they were laughing happily, seemingly without a care in the world. It was at that moment that their phones lost signal. When night fell, their families began to worry. As they could no longer contact Emily and Sarah, the initial slight worry quickly transformed into a full-blown panic that lasted throughout the night. Once their disappearance was reported to the authorities, multiple rescue teams, along with volunteers, launched an immediate search operation. Several helicopters flew low over the area, and search dogs were deployed. But everything seemed futile. The Colorado wilderness was vast and unforgiving, and it seemed to have hidden its secrets very well. A day went by, then a week, then a month, and the trail of Emily and Sarah went cold without a single clue. Their disappearance left a deep wound on their families and friends, and it became a tragic tale that reminded everyone of the dangers of the wild. To this day, no one knows what happened to the two young women, and many have come to believe they are no longer alive. The silence of the Colorado mountains has hidden this tragic story for 5 years. 5 years had passed, and the mountain area seemed to have returned to its peaceful state, while the story of Emily and Sarah had become a tragic piece of history that was rarely talked about. But for their families, time seemed to have stood still. One beautiful day, a hiker named John, who was an adventurous person and a lover of ancient history, decided to hike in that very region. He followed a path less traveled and stopped to rest in a small meadow. As he looked around, he noticed a patch of ground that looked different from the others. It seemed as if something had been buried underneath. Driven by curiosity, John began to carefully dig with his hands. After a short while, he felt a hard object. As he brushed the soil away, he saw it. It was a piece of bone that looked like a human vertebrae. What was even more horrifying was that in the center of the bone, an object that resembled an arrowhead or a shard of an ancient blade was deeply embedded. The utter silence of the area suddenly turned into a chilling horror. The blood in John's body seemed to freeze as he recalled the story of the two young women who had vanished 5 years ago. He immediately knew that his discovery was no accident. It was likely the key that could unlock the greatest mystery in this story. Filled with fear and shock, John hastily contacted the authorities, telling them about his horrifying find. This one phone call was what caused a story that seemed to have ended, to come back to life with a secret that had been hidden for 5 years. After John's phone call, the serenity on the Colorado mountain was shattered. Police and forensic experts rushed to the scene, and the location was transformed into a large-scale investigation site. The bone John had found was taken for a detailed forensic analysis, and the DNA results clearly confirmed that it belonged to Emily, who had disappeared 5 years prior. This discovery completely extinguished the family's last glimmer of hope, replacing it with profound despair. Simultaneously, the experts analyzed the object embedded in Emily's bone. It was not an ancient arrowhead, but a fragment of a modern hunting knife that had broken in two. Based on the analysis of the metal's properties and the DNA trace on the knife fragment, police found a critical clue. The DNA matched a man named David, who had worked as a mountain guide in that area 5 years ago. David had been questioned once before regarding the disappearance of Emily and Sarah, but he had not revealed the truth. With this new evidence, police brought David in for renewed questioning, and he finally confessed to the cruel story of what happened that day. On the day of the incident, David, who was hunting, met Emily and Sarah. For unclear reasons, David got into an argument with Emily and used his knife to stab her to death. Sarah tried to run away, but she was also pursued and killed by David, who then carefully hid the bodies of the two young women. The bone fragment of Emily that was found was a part he hadn't fully buried, and it ultimately became the strongest piece of evidence that led to this dark truth being exposed. The story of the two young women reached its saddest conclusion. They did not die because of nature. but became the victims of a cruel crime that had been hidden for many years. After David's confession, police brought him to the location where he had buried the bodies of Emily and Sarah. Finally, the remains of the two young women were recovered, and they were able to return to their families after being missing for so long. The story that was once a mystery was publicly revealed, causing shock and deep sorrow among everyone. David was brought to court and found guilty of the murder of two people. Although justice was served and the killer was punished, nothing could ever bring Emily and Sarah back. Their families arranged solemn funerals for their beloved daughters, a ceremony they once thought would never be possible. The grief remained, but at the very least, there was a sense of closure to the story. The Colorado Mountain, which was once a place of their dreams and adventures, became a place of painful memories. But now, it also became a place to honor the beautiful memories of the two young women. The story of Emily and Sarah concluded with the discovery of a painful truth, but it also showed that no matter how long a truth is hidden, it will ultimately be revealed through a small clue that was best hidden by nature itself. Subscribe for more good old days.